Hey, what's up, y'all? My name is Millennial Smark, and I'm bringing you the slop, the whole slop, and nothing but the slop. So, I tried my best to get all the reports I can get together because this video is strictly about Andrade. No multiple news sources, no multiple news stories, because there's just so much that is leaking out about this that I want to give my sole focus on this specific topic regarding Andrade, right? So as you guys know, Andrade left WWE about, say, a couple of weeks ago, and he debuted in AEW. And already he's not been visible on television for the past couple of weeks, which has everybody asking what the hell is going on, right? Did he have prior commitments in Mexico, for an example, that he wanted to, do, and he worked it out with AEW? Was there a situation with people backstage that weren't fond of Andrade, and maybe there was some drama happening backstage? Was there a situation in regards to Andrade possibly being injured? No, it gets a hell of a lot deeper than, honestly, even I can actually imagine, and quite frankly, I don't think I have all the details until we actually get WWE's side of the matter, but this is what we have so far. Okay, so pay attention to your screen because this is a lot of information. I tried my best to kind of build a timeline and kind of get this all concise as humanly possible without messing up anything, but it started off with this. Okay, on the October 16th, 2025 edition of Wrestling Observer Radio, and bear with me, I know we kind of dismissed Dave Meltzer on most of these occasions, but now it's a lot of people starting to corroborate this. So again, bear with me. Don't just hear Dave Meltzer and just automatically dismiss it. This is not a specific Dave Meltzer story. He's just one of the people who was corroborating this information, so bear with me. Dave Meltzer reported that the belief within wrestling circles is that Andrade's sudden absence could be tied to a WWE non-compete clause. According to Meltzer, while most believed that Andrade had no restrictions preventing him from appearing for AEW due to the nature of his WWE exit, WWE reportedly believes otherwise. And I quote, "What I've been hearing was WWE sent a letter. AEW obviously believed that there was a non-compete. There were people who talked to people in WWE who also believed there was no non-compete, But WWE, apparently, that's the story. They said that he can't do AEW for 90 days. It continues. We spoke to sources that spoke to Andrade in the last week who said he seemed in good spirits, but didn't indicate why he was pulled from recent shows and hadn't been seen on AEW since reappearing. The little bit of response we got was that Andrade is in fact signed, but that the absence was something that at least one person didn't see as AEW or Andrade's specific fault." Now, you hear that information and you say to yourself, okay, how does, we'll talk about that in a little bit, okay? Because this did continue into the morning time. So this was through WrestlePeers, more in particular, them transcribing Mike Johnson, the PW Insider. Again, a lot of people are corroborating this information. They said the initial belief within WWE circles was that since Andrade was cut outright, he was not going to be paid his 90 days and was free to perform elsewhere. After he began making his appearances, WWE clarified to Andrade that even though he was not going to get the traditional 90 days pay following his release, he was still subject to the 90-day period, 90-day period where he cannot perform elsewhere. One WWE source said the company was not going to have a system in place where someone could leave due to violating policies and then end up elsewhere the next day. It was described as a loophole WWE could not allow to exist. Okay. Okay, that is wild. That is a wild loophole. I'm very curious how that actually would hold up in a court of law, but that happens to be the case at the moment, right? So I did a little bit of snooping around, and like I said, it's going to be hard personally for me to know exactly the actual legal implications because I don't know what was written into Andrade's contract, right? I don't know the conflicts in regards to Andrade being terminated has to do with violating any non-compete in regards to him not being paid, right? Because in the end of the day, if he violated something within his contract and he was immediately terminated, then he should be able to go somewhere else, right? Because in that case, wouldn't you technically be like, indentured servitude? Like, really, right? Because you don't, at that point, you're signed to something that you're not even getting paid for, right? Like, you're kind of holding them within your grasp without them being able to make ends meet. Like, that's wild. That's crazy. But I did look this up, right? And by the way, when I say indentured servitude, I don't mean like specifically slavery, because obviously you have to work for the company. But what I mean by indentured servitude is that you're not getting paid for your resources. That's what I mean, right? Because they're still going to use his name, his likeness, all that kind of stuff within this company. Even if you're not working directly for the company inside of the ring or cutting promos and stuff like that, them being able to legally use your image and your likeness and then you not being able to get paid for it, that's what I mean by that, right? But like I said, I looked this up, and again, I'm not a lawyer, obviously. I looked this up through Grok of all fucking places, so take everything that I'm saying with a grain of salt. But I looked up specifically the loophole and how this actually protects WWE. But they said, and I quote, "The key loophole WWE uses to enforce the restriction without paying arises in specific cases where the release stems from policy violations or breaches of conduct. Wellness policy failures, for an example, backstage altercations or contract disputes," which the wellness policy obviously implies Andrade, if we believe why he was allegedly fired, which was because it was due to wellness policy violations. But it continues on. WWE accelerates the release, treating it as a termination for cause rather than a standard notice. No different than obviously how CM Punk got fired through Tony Khan during the stuff back in 2023. The wrestler is immediately removed from the payroll and barred from WWE appearances, which is Andrade, obviously. However, WWE still enforces the 90-day holdout from other promotions to prevent a walk-off to the rivals the next day, closing what they view as a vulnerability in their system. And they quote by saying this isn't universal. Most releases, obviously mass cuts, include pay, but for violators, it allows WWE to save costs while maintaining control. And obviously they talk about Andrade Idolo, who was released in the 2023 I guess they meant 2025. This is what I mean, obviously. Take this with a grain of salt as far as, I guess, he wasn't released in 2023. Oh, you know what? Again, yeah, he was probably released. They meant AEW he was released then, but he was released from AEW due to backstage issues? Continuing on. Despite the breach-based firing, WWE informed him in 2025 that he was still bound by the 90-day clause without compensation, delaying his full AEW return. Which, by the way, I will say this, because again, this one is all over the place. I don't believe Andrade was released from AEW due to backstage issues. Again, maybe I could be wrong about that. Did he ask for his release through AEW? Let me look that up real quick. I'm very curious. Did Andrade, we're gonna look this up in real time. Hang on. Not androgynous, you fucking stupid thing. Idolo ask for AEW release in 2023. The results I got, let's see. No, Andrade El Idolo did not ask for a release from AEW in 2023. His departure from the promotion at the end of December of 2023 was due to the natural expiration of his contract, which he chose not to renew, allowing him to return to WWE at the 2024 Royal Rumble. Okay, so yeah, I don't know what the fuck Grok is talking about as far as some having backstage issues in 2023, unless somehow they're stupid and retarded and they got their information somehow mixed up with possibly, I don't know, CM Punk or something like that. But yeah, he didn't get released. His contract expired. I figured that was the case. But as far as the loophole is considered, as far as him getting fired being what they would consider a violation as to how he should not get paid while still not being able to work, I still find very flimsy. And honestly, I'm going to read some reactions and then I'll give my take on it when it's all said and done. So here are some of the reactions that we were seeing from some people. This guy says, dudes are really like, oh no, the millionaire can't wrestle elsewhere for 90 whole days. Laugh my ass off. He was a dumbass and got slapped with a 90-day no compete for it. Tony was an even bigger dumbass and rushed the debut. Another comment says, and I quote, hang on for a second, because I'm doing this all in real time. Laugh my ass off. What? They let him go, but gave him the 90 days, but still isn't being paid? This is looking more and more shady on WWE's part the more that comes out. Let's see, one more comment, because again, I feel like everybody's going to have one-sided issues or one-sided implications in regards to what side they take without any nuance inside it whatsoever. Another person says, how is it that they have a non-compete without the commensurate, there we go, I'm fucking retarded, the commensurate pay? That makes no sense to me. I think I still butchered that word. Commensurate, whatever. I'm fucking stupid right now. My point being is though, yeah, you got everybody's reactions and my fucking up of words when it comes to reading, you know, basic middle school words. Look, my take on all this is pretty simple. I feel like there's a huge misunderstanding on both parts, right? Like, I can easily jump directly to the WWE's bad argument. They're evil. How do they just have someone go work somewhere else and not even pay them when they give them their 90-day compete, but then hold them back from working somewhere else? I mean, like I said, I feel like I lean more towards that argument from a good faith standpoint in regards to like WWE is not doing the right thing here. More so because, not because of what I would claim to be somewhat of an indentured servitude to use his name and likeness and still be able to make money off of it while he's not making any money at all, period, point blank, right? It'd be one thing if, you know, you gave him a 90-day and then you paid him and you're still making money off of him, but then you get to use his likeness still and then he goes to a different company because that's what he signed the contract for, right? But it's another thing where you're still making money off of him and he can't make any money and you just sent them off. Like there's just something really, really wild about that, right? But it's not even necessarily that I have a problem with. What I have a problem with is WWE knows good and damn well that like you don't what I'm saying is I can kind of understand it if it was like maybe a CM Punk, maybe a Roman Reigns, maybe a Cody Rhodes, maybe a John Cena, maybe a Seth Rollins, somewhat of that nature, right? Where like you stand to lose a lot of input, a lot of work, a lot of investment, right? And that entity, because these people, it sounds crazy when I say it like this, but in all honesty, I don't know how else to say it. They are products. They're products. Whether you want to twist it or turn it or say whatever, Devontae, you can't talk about human beings that way. That's what it is. They are IP. They are products. They are intellectual property of WWE. So I can see their argument if it happens to be with a bigger talent that they lose in that manner, but seeing it done to like Andrade, a guy where you don't really stand to lose a lot, like surface level, right? Ignore all the stuff we're saying about how he got fired and this and that and the third. You don't stand to lose a lot. You did not invest anything, you know, substantial enough for me to believe that you're risking anything having Andrade join AEW when it's all said and done, right? Like that's the problem that I have. Now, on the flip side, and this is where the argument I'm going to look at from WWE's point of view as why they did this, and I know some people, again, they're going to be very one-sided and there's going to be no nuance. I'm trying to be very nuanced when looking at this situation, approaching in this manner, is that they don't want to set a precedent with Andrade being able to do what he did, right? Because like they stated in this article, and I sort of kind of agree with that premise also. You don't want someone like an Andrade to be able to essentially do bullshit to get out of his contract to just go work for the company the next day. Using that same example, that same line of thinking, not that they would do that. I would like to think that they're more professional than that, and I believe that they're more professional than that. If CM Punk, for an example, right, decided that he wanted to get out of his contract and go work for AEW the next day, obviously that would never happen in a million years, and he decided to act up backstage, right? In fact, those were the rumors as to what CM Punk was doing initially to get out of his AEW contract to come back to WWE, was that he was acting a fool to get out of this contract to go work for WWE. Do you know how much money they stand to lose on that investment, right? Now, the investment within Andrade may be something to look at and say to yourself, you know, that's not that big of a deal. But it has more to do with making an example out of Andrade to show people who eventually want to make it to a top spot, or maybe people who are on their way to a top spot, or maybe even people who are set in their top spot. This is them saying, what Andrade is doing right here, you guys will never get away with it. We see right through your bullshit. We see what you're attempting at the moment, and we're not going to allow it. And I think Andrade is literally just a pawn on a chessboard being used in order to make an example of, to show that you guys can do this. We've seen this coming. We've seen what you guys are going to do, and we're going to put this out there, and we're going to make sure that you don't be able to do what Andrade just attempted to do right now, right? And let's even argue if Andrade even attempted to do that, right? Maybe he did, maybe he didn't. I don't know. I don't know. Like I said, I feel like this is a very, third time using this word, nuanced situation. I know most people will probably look at this also and they'll say to themselves, the only, and I think this is a, because some people will probably say, oh, you're being disingenuous. I'm not. I think this is a valid argument. And if someone can answer this in the comment section, I'm willing to listen. I'm open to listen. Like, there's no jokes in this video. I'm very curious because this is still kind of confusing. And as the story starts to break out a little bit more, obviously people who are journalists are going to probably talk to people backstage from AEW to WWE to get more of a take on this. The only thing that I can't wrap my mind on, and I have no answer for, is where's the legal teams talking to each other between WWE and AEW about the situation, right? I make jokes about AEW and their actual product, but talking on the business side of things, I can't think that AEW or Tony or specifically Chad Khan, because I think he's like the majority owner of AEW, if I'm not mistaken. He's the true owner. I can't help but think that there's no legal representation when looking over a superstar's contract to know whether or not they're okay to be on television. Like, that sounds wild to me. Look, like I said, I make jokes about AEW all the time, but like, I just can't see that being the case. Like, that's so wildly inept for anybody to partake in. And knowing that these guys are billionaires and they made their money based off of business, I would like to think, as far as legal discourse is considered, they will have every nook and cranny turned to 10 as far as tightening, right? I don't know how, though. I have no explanation as to how a guy can be released from his contract, right? With cause, apparently, because he did get released or fired for violating their wellness policy multiple times, if you leave it up to what we've been reading these past couple of weeks. I don't understand how one talent can go from one company to the other company, and the company that he went to didn't do their due diligence to speak to the other company to know whether or not he was okay. Like, okay, Andrade probably thinks to himself, okay, I'm Gucci. They released me. I can't speak to Andrade's mental state or, you know, like what he actually thought. I don't know if Andrade went back and forth with WWE to, I don't know, find out whether or not he was safe to go to AEW. I don't know. But what I do know is that AEW is the company that stands to lose, because you can get sued for this shit, right? You're infringing on intellectual property. I don't understand how they just let something like this slip through the cracks. That's the part that I can't answer. And hopefully, as time goes on, we can get some more information about this. I'm not even so much necessarily concerned with the WWE 90 days clause stuff. That's for people to argue who care about that kind of shit. I'm just completely perplexed as to how someone could just join AEW and show up on television and attack one of the stars and do all this kind of stuff, and somehow not think to have all your legal bindings taken care of before just letting this guy. Like, how did you even, my thing is also, like, can you, I'm pretty sure you could probably sign a contract during a 90-day non-compete clause, right? Or can you? Because if WWE is still paying you, that would mean technically you're still under contract, right? But obviously there are going to be some provisions underneath that as well, so maybe they're okay to sign another contract, and it's just strictly banning them from showing up on television, and I'm assuming banning them from actually selling property or any of the superstars' likeness while they're still under contract with WWE being paid. I don't know how they got away with that. That's the crazy part. I just don't know how they did that. If someone can answer that for me down in the comment section, that would be awesome. How did AEW not see this? There's no way they just went off of Andrade's word. That's fucking wild if that happens to be the case. And that's, in my opinion, something to be worth scrutinizing way more than what seems like to be WWE's shady tactics. Like, WWE's mad shady with what they're doing right now. Don't get it twisted. But I feel like the ineptness of a legal team in AEW not looking over a wrestler's contract who got released and going off of his word and signing him to a contract while he's still signed to a different brand. Like, even if you say to yourself, like, oh, okay, well, the 90-day non-compete is not going to be affecting him because he's not getting paid, and I think he got fired. How, as a legal team, did you not do your due diligence and check over that? That's what I'm saying. Even if you do believe that, you are a legal team. You get paid hundreds of thousands of dollars to look over shit like this. How did you not see that? How did you not check that? That's incredible to me. That's fucking incredible. And that, in my opinion, is a bigger scandal than anything as far as WWE being shady. I mean, you expect WWE to be shady. Not the second biggest wrestling company in the world to sign a dude who's already signed to a different company. That's fucking wild to me. And even worse if you went off of his word. But let me know your thoughts down in the comment section. This is what we have so far in regards to information lingering off of the Andrade situation. Like I said, I'll be keeping up with it as time goes on, because again, I need to know that last part that we just discussed right now in regards to AEW and their legal team. How the hell did they not see this? We'll talk about that as time goes on, but let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. As always, my name is Devontae, aka Millennial Smart, and I'll be catching you fine folks later. A deuces and a pea ice.